Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hazmat 101 Consultants HazChat. I'm your co-host, Bob Coscignano, with my cohort in crime, Mr. Derek Shawman. Derek, how are you?
I'm doing well. Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in the cyber world.
And when you say that, I want to have a drink in my hand, like a bourbon or a rum or something. So I can sit there and go, oh, salute. But, I will say I've been a little under the weather for a couple weeks, and as a result, I haven't been able to have such salutations and whatnot. And as a result, I've lost a little bit of weight, which you may or may not be able to tell. A little bit here, a little bit there, maybe. Yeah, maybe
Looks
not.
good. Looks good. Looks good. I added a little bit here as it transferred from you to me while I was on a cruise. I've had some delicious food and some great sights and great company. So, I enjoyed it and put a little bit of weight on.
Ah,
Got to work
nice.
on trimming it down. Hopefully, I don't take the same route that you did.
No, because of HIPAA violations, even though it would be on myself, we don't want to discuss such things. But I did survive, and unfortunately, my family will not be able to catch in on the life insurance policies that I had. Sucks to be them; they're stuck with me. So at least for a little while longer. Anyway,
Another practice run. Another practice run.
another practice. I told her she should have had me bumped off when I was on duty. She would have got a lot more money. So, anyway, all right. So here we go. This is an incident just happened recently. We are not Monday morning quarterbacking this at all, or as is the case today is Wednesday. So we're not Wednesday quarterbacking it. But we do want to point out a few things. Especially this is stuff we talk about in our hazmat ops review class. The first due units that arrive on scene set the building blocks for what we hope will be a successful outcome. And again, we're not quarterbacking this at all, but we're just going to point out a few things and some suggestions and some things that people just may not even be thinking about from the first arriving unit standpoint. Derek's going to talk about some incident command standpoints, being that he's the district chief for our department, and just a point of another point of view. So, without further ado, let's get to the video. So this is in Clifton, New Jersey. Just happened. It's a semi tractor trailer on a major highway. It looks like, and you can see after the lieutenant captain was given a size up, he had one explosion, and then he had a secondary one, and it appeared to be a 55-gallon drum flying right by him. So we're gonna replay that, and here it is again. And so I'm gonna pause it right there. He has one explosion. He looks back at it as he's talking on the radio. We're going to fast forward a little bit. And then the fire kind of goes away or goes down a little bit. And then there's another explosion. And right there, I just pause it. You can see to the left of the screen, there's what appears to be a 55-gallon drum flying through the air towards his apparatus. I'm sure he had the oh shit factor going on there. I know I absolutely would have. Um, and just to let it play forward just a second, I'll pause it again. Um, now you're looking at the overall damage of what's going on. So you've got a divided highway. Um, it's up against a sound barrier with a neighborhood right behind it. So one of the things with this is the first due arriving unit. Number one thing is life safety. Okay, let's start with yours. Stage back as far as you deem necessary, number one. Number two, shut down all lanes of traffic. The cops don't own the road, you do. Derek had an incident several years ago when he was a lieutenant with a garbage truck that had several CNG tanks. He told them to shut down the road. They went and did their thing, and it wasn't until after that they realized that law enforcement did not shut the road down. Um, just think about that drum that went flying through the air that you saw. What if that drum went sideways and took out vehicles on the oncoming lanes? So that's what I mean by shutting down everything in both directions. And it looks like from this video that they did, in fact, do that. A lot of people
So, Bob,
don't.
are you saying that the hazmat incident doesn't care what travel lane it's in?
No, it doesn't.
So the ERG and every guideline we have for isolation and evacuation makes no mention of travel lanes.
It does not. It does not.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting point. So life safety, people, that's what it's about. It's an area. When Derek's just referencing distance, that's around. That's just not this little way. And that's kind of the point he was trying to make. Because, like I said, what if those drums went sideways, and took out a passenger car or someone on a motorcycle or whatever? Again, what I'm looking at here, there's no lanes of traffic. There's no traffic moving in these lanes. So it looks like they did a good job doing exactly that. And then you look at all these drums, we don't know what's in there. I'm sure they were not able to see the placards. And remember, especially on transportation vehicles, placards have to be on all four sides of the vehicle. So typically, no matter how it's deemed in a wreck or auto accident, you'll be able to see a placard of some sort and go to the placard section of the ERG to then start your basic tactics. At this point, you can't see definitely can't see the placards on the front because there's no longer a front. You're not going to be able to see it on the passenger side because it's up against the wall. The rear of it, where there may be a gate there, it's hard to tell. You can't see that even with the smoke, and you can barely see. And we'll show you the picture now of um, the side of the car. There we go, and you've got a corrosive and a flammable. So that's great if we're looking straight on it and you can see that. But from his vantage point, he obviously didn't see that. So the number one thing I'm going to do is that first do arriving unit, truck company, engine company, doesn't matter. I'm going to stage back. We're going to secure the scene, life safety first. And I'm quite honestly, might not even mess with this thing. We talk about we don't know if there's going to be hazardous materials in it. Well, there are hazardous materials in it. And that box part, that trailer part could be empty, but we have two saddle tanks of diesel, could also be compressed natural gas cylinders now. You don't know what other means that they're using for the transportation as far as moving the rig up and down the highway. So I'm more interested in the life safety issue that's around me, which is those houses, and Derek could pick that up from there.
Yeah. Well, and the big takeaway too is placards are a nice tool. They're a nice indicator, a nice hint or clue, but it shouldn't be that the presence or absence of a placard is really driving our decision on isolation, evacuation, and exclusion, because especially every hazmat technician knows, and our ops people and even our officers and law enforcement should be educated enough to know that whenever we have a box trailer, that's mixed commodities, that's miscellaneous. We need to assume that it's holding something hazardous before we make the assumption that it's not. um, so I would always approach that with a measure of caution. And obviously we're seeing the pictures when there's no more orange stuff, no more angry orange stuff there. So
Right.
but just looking at that trailer, the name on that trailer automatically grabs my attention because Bob and I had that company in our backyard for our careers, and we know what kind of commodities come in and out of there. So, with the absence of a visible placard, just seeing that name would have automatically raised the hairs on the back of my neck of, hey, this is more than just probably some paper goods that are
Right.
being moved. We've probably got something here that's a little bit more. Um, the big thing that I'd be looking at on this, and I always would tell my crews, is we go to vehicle fires all the time and we spray water on vehicle fires. Sometimes we use foam. Sometimes law enforcement gets there and uses a dry chem. Fantastic tool. We should use it more often. Um, but the reality is, other than if there's an immediate life safety hazard at the accident scene, extinguishing a vehicle fire is something that we do as convenience for controlling the situation for those things. But the reality is, it's not like a structure fire. We're not saving anything. There's no remediation crew, renovation crew that's going to come out and do an assessment on this vehicle and rebuild it like they do with structures.
Wait. You mean
So
Flo's not going to show up and go, "Hey, here's a
no,
check to give you some new coverings for your seat or something
yeah,
like
no,
that?" Huh, weird.
no, they're not going to rebuild it. This is going to the scrapyard. So while we want to control this fire, we want to contain it, we want to extinguish it, we have to look at what our tactical priorities are. And like Bob said, that's life safety. So shutting down our roadways, that's our first one. That's what's glaring and staring at us in the face. It's a big orange, angry monster that we need to contain and prevent it from getting to other people. My immediate secondary concern is I need to get an apparatus to the other side into that residential area
Good
so
point.
that
Let me
we
bring
can
that picture up.
determine, yeah, so we can determine, do we have any concerns there? Obviously, we want to isolate, evacuate, handle those things, but we want to make contact. Can the residents account for everybody? Or do we possibly have someone missing? In some of these pictures and videos, I can see an above ground pool, looked like possibly a trampoline. There was definitely an outdoor barbecue and sitting area.
Yeah, here the house,
We need to,
the siding's melted.
yeah, so we need to determine, do we have another incident? Is it a multifaceted incident? Do we need to break this down into divisions, to geographic groups? What do we need to do to handle all the problems and not just focus on the one that honestly we can't really fix? We can spray water on it, we can cool it down. Looking at these drums, the ones that we can see here in the pictures, they're all bulging. So
Yeah,
every single one of them has a lot of potential energy waiting to be released. They might release during the incident, they might release 5-10 minutes after the incident. But what I want to do is I want to look and see, do I see a lawnmower that is in the middle of the backyard and there's no one nearby? Maybe
right.
that person was injured, maybe they ran away, but I want to make sure, do I have a life safety hazard concern on the backside of that in that residential area? Have I evacuated? Have I isolated? Have I accounted for all the people? Because that's going to be where my other concerns are. Unfortunately, there's only so much we can do for the occupants of the vehicle. We
Right.
can try to address the concerns for the other occupants and other people who are there. And it's very easy to get tunneled in, especially if we approach only from the interstate side. It's easy to ignore the fact that we need to get some resource into the residential side and confirm life safety, but also be prepared for, if this starts lighting off the homes, like we see here with the damage on the siding. And then if you look at that picture with the siding, we also see, it looks like at least two propane fed grills. I see one exposed propane tank. The other one is probably underneath the covered grill.
Right.
So are those being impinged by heat? There was obviously radiant heat that was enough to affect that siding. It's going to take more heat to get the propane going, but we've started the recipe. Let's try to prevent that from becoming a bigger deal.
And in this picture here, you also got the sound barrier wall that's collapsed. Is there anybody underneath that? Were they mowing the lawn when this happened? The two drums that I see there, it looks like drums anyway. It looks like a blue poly drum and maybe a white metal close head drum. I think it looks like there's two bung holes on top of that, trying to do some minor CSI, from the computer. But regardless, like Derek said, they're bulging or appear to be. They've been through a catastrophic event, which is, that are obviously not where they started. Their positioning. So yeah, there's all kinds of things, and quite honestly, that's a real good advantage point for another apparatus or a safety officer or something like that, because you do have some protection from the walls that haven't been exposed to the damage or the fire or the whatever. So you're able to get a little bit of a safer view of what's going on. So
Yeah, and it's one of those things. We're not saving the truck.
right,
We can try to prevent the spread of fire, try to prevent the interaction of thermal impact on the other containers. Containers that were damaged from the impact were already damaged. Containers that were immediately exposed in the fire prior to our arrival were exposed to the fire. We can try cooling, we can try all those things, but the reality is, what are our concerns on that residential side, and what are our concerns for stopping traffic?
Right. And I'll bring something up too from a fire attack standpoint. And again, we talk about this in our ops review class. Those first due arriving units typically, and obviously this is going to be a little bit more than just typical car fire, but on even on car fires or truck fires, and we've even seen it on some smaller commercial vehicle fires, they tend to pull that 100-foot inch and 3/4 trash line or bumper line. Think about this for a second. You're 100 feet from whatever is going on. That's not that far. And so I would challenge the people that are watching and listen to this, take a few extra seconds and pull a 200-foot pre-connect. Derek, do you know why most people pull 100-foot pre-connect?
Less hose to load back up.
That's right, because they're lazy. Because, oh my God, if I pulled a 200-foot pre-connect, I'd have to load an extra 100 feet of hose. I could be back playing a video game or doing whatever. But think about this, guys and gals. If you pull that 200-foot pre-connect, you're giving the company officer more time to listen for something that's whistling, hissing, crackling, something abnormal. Okay, that's buying some time. Also, consider spinning the apparatus around. Most apparatus, the pump operator is on the side facing the incident. Spin that around so the pump operator is on the opposite side and has some protection if something goes wrong. So just a couple of little nuggets that people just don't think about, quite honestly, because they're, like you said, they see yellow and they go right towards it. So
Yeah, and by giving that extra distance, even if it's only 50 feet of distance extra, think about that pump operator who typically they're not in full PPE.
right,
Usually, our company officer, the firefighters, they're in full PPE because they're engaging with the incident. The pump operators usually maybe in bunker pants, maybe they're in street clothes. A lot of times aren't going to have respiratory protection. So the further we can get them, every foot is more protection than what they had before. But this is also a consideration when you have something like this, especially if you start to identify that there are hazards there. Put that pump operator into proper PPE, have them breathing air
yeah,
because anything that's airborne, they're going to be exposed to if it's moving that direction. So look out for the best interest of your crews all the way around. Look out for the best interest of the public. And it's easy to get tunneled into what the initial incident is, but the reality is we can't undo what has already occurred.
and
All
you
that we
bring
can
up
do is prevent it from being worse.
a good point about the pump operator, because what I forgot to mention at the beginning of this is that even after the incident, there were people that were having a chemical odor smell in the area. Okay, so if they're having the smell in the area, then those that were closest to it potentially could have been exposed to whatever. Um,
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with taking an air pack, setting it on the running board for the driver to throw on real quick if the smoke shifts towards him or what have you. So, um, just something to consider. So good stuff. Good quick little chat. You got anything else?
No, that's it. I think we hit on it good. I'd be interested to hear more information, find out exactly what was involved. And again, like Bob said, we're not Monday morning quarterbacking anybody. What we're doing is we're doing a Wednesday game tape review,
Uh,
and we're taking the advantage and the opportunity to learn and say, hey, we saw this. Are there things that we could see that maybe where there's areas that if we were confronted with the same situation, we could, with a little bit of pre-information, a little bit of pre-knowledge, address differently, or how does it work for us tactically? Because the reality is we can have every plan in the world. If you ever believe that you're going to fit a hazmat or any incident into your plan, you're mistaken. Your plan has to fit the incident. So you
exactly.
have to have the flexibility to say, hey, I've got to change what I'm doing to fit the problem I've been presented with.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's how we learn. People think they get Monday morning quarterbacked and they're picking on them. No, I don't want to hear about your successes. I want to hear about your failures. Not suggesting there were any here, but just in general terms. So, all right. Well, real quickly before we head out, just want to remind everybody about Hazmat HQ, our digital hazmat magazine, which we're coming up on a year now, which is kind of crazy. It's been seen in over 52 countries, which is awesome. And if you want to submit an article, please go click on the article, go to the website. There's a quick link in there for the email submission at hazmathq.com. Send us what you got. We'll put it in there. We want to hear from more people. The more we hear from, the more we all learn. So um, that's kind of a cool thing. And then lastly, some websites. Obviously, our Hazmat 101 Consultants Facebook and YouTube page, the Hazmat Guys Roundtable, first Tuesday of every month. Hazmat Group 2, Hazmatter Group, and Common Sense. All great sites for you to learn, ask questions. I guarantee somebody's probably had the same question and has already gotten an answer. So there you go. Derek, any final last words?
No, just everyone stay safe out there and enjoy your day.
All right. Everybody stay safe, as Derek said. And thanks again, and we'll see you next time.